Well, excuse me. Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. Let me just remind you what this show is all about. So, this is the show where we like to have real talk about real things. So, the intention of this show is for you to be better than how you were yesterday, right? So, this is like a weird twist on an educational type programming. So we've done episodes on like homeschooling, living with disabilities, artificial intelligence. What else? We've done self care, mental health. We've done all that mushy gushy stuff. But of course, again, the purpose is for you to be better than how you were yesterday. So that is the point of Hot Topics. Excuse me again. So I am looking forward to this discussion because I have a returning guest. I love it when the guests come back on the show, especially, when it's been a while and you maintain contact with your guests, and it's all about networking, guys. But she's back on Hot Topics, and let me just tell you what the topic is that she is back on. So not only do I have a repeat topic, no, I'm sorry. I'm getting my thoughts mixed up. I have a repeat guest and a repeat topic. There you go. So let me tell you the repeat topic. The topic is life as a divorcee. So this is part 2. We are bringing back this topic for the second time, life as a divorcee part 2. So I encourage you guys to check out part 1 in the archives, but make sure you guys check out part 1 in the older episodes. But yeah, so life as a divorcee is the topic today, and my returning guest is Rhonda Johnson. She was on here before talking about attachment styles a couple years ago, and she is now back. So make sure you guys check out that episode as well. Attachment styles. Make sure you check that out. But yes, Rhonda Johnson is my guest, and let me just remind you about who she is. So Rhonda specializes in empowering women over 30 to reclaim their lives and rediscover their authentic selves. If you're tired of putting everyone else's needs before your own and you're ready to step into your own power, you've come into the right place. So Rhonda is your girl for that. All right. Well, I am ready to jump into this thing, so let's do this. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring Rhonda to the forefront. Hi, Rhonda. How are you doing today?
I am good. Good to see you. Good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, thank you for coming back on Hot Topics. It's been a couple years, but you are back. So we're just gonna jump right into it. So life as a divorcee. I definitely want to hear your story on that. So I'm going to pass the baton over to you. So tell us your story. How did you become a divorcee?
Well, I mean, I can laugh about it now. Well, I was married for 5 years, and it was I call it like everybody has you get a starter home, you have a starter marriage, and it was difficult. And I think I'll say it like this: now I see that marriage is not an easy thing. Back then, I thought it was. Um, and it was an adjustment of styles, but I didn't know that. I kind of was um, thinking it was going to be something that we dated a long time, it will be easy to do, and it wasn't. Just different styles of communication, different styles of um, just different ideas of what marriage is, and of course different types of attachment, different types of childhood issues melded together and clashed. um, so we lived separately for many years, and in 2013, um, I went to the door and got the papers. Um, and what was interesting was 2 days prior, he and I were talking, and I thought we were, maybe trying to figure out reconciling, you know. It wasn't, we never had any type of tense conversation or anything like that, but I just was like, okay, cool, this is, maybe we are finally going to work this thing out. No. um the I got served by the sheriff and got the divorce papers. And what was really interesting for me was it was a day I just dreaded. And I was just like, I'm going to get those papers and I'm going to fall apart because the dream is over. The dream is over. What actually ended up happening was I felt free. I actually called those papers my freedom papers, because now it's like we could separate. We could finally separate, and I could finally let go of the dreams I had. I could finally let go of the fear I had. Um, I could finally let go of all of that because they were entangled in each other. And where there was hope for us to get back together, there was also so much um, unforgiveness, so much pain, so much, so many other things. So um, I had made my mind up then because I had been around people at that particular point who were having problems in their marriage and who had been divorced, and they were just bitter. They were bitter. They were angry. They were like, "Oh, don't get married again." Like, so um, one person I remember, in fact, I told her I was getting married. She was just like, "You gonna regret it?" And I had seen her for years and years, and that was her thing. Her thing was like, I was married for years. It blew up in my face. Marriage sucks. And so she actually was like, I told you, I'm telling you, I done told you marriage ain't gonna work out. I said, you know what? I said, I'm not gonna be one of those people. I can choose my route as a divorcee. There was a lot of things that I had to work through bitterness, I had to work through unforgiveness, I had to work through pain. But I was like, look, man, if you want to get married, please do. I'm not against marriage. I don't think marriage is a horrible thing. I think it's just something that we're not prepared for a lot. And a lot of couples, because um, I went to a marriage counselor, and this is my divorce actually is what got me into mental health. There's not a lot of guidance out there, right? So by the time a couple appears in front of a couples counselor, there's a complete breakdown usually in communication. Like the counselor is the last resort, where to me it's like we should be able to check in with each other, check in with a counselor whenever, before problems get so bad that they can't be managed anymore. So that was a long-winded way of saying that's my divorce story.
Well, listen, you sounds like you have a lot to share.
Mhm.
So let's break it down. So he served the paper. He was the one that served the papers.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Did you know he was going to do that?
No, like I said, 2 days
Mm.
prior, we had spoken. And I thought everything was cool, to the fact that once I got the papers, I called him. I was like, man, you know, heads up, let me know. But I mean, I kind of thought about it. And he wasn't that type of person. You know what I'm saying? That was part of our issue, was communication. So to expect him to be like, okay, yeah, so I'm serving the papers to you, would we wouldn't have issues if he could do that. And it wasn't that to me that let him off the hook. That helped me see why I had um this false sense of belief that we get back together in the first place, because I really thought he was a different type of person. But yeah, I was caught completely off guard,
Well,
and that
what?
matters.
Sorry, go ahead. So I don't mean to cut you off. So what happened? How did you get to that point?
Well, with us, there was a he actually had said something about, not being sure about being married. And not being the best communicator myself at the time, I didn't really delve deep into what that meant. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know. And so we kind of just danced around until, eventually I was like, okay, maybe, you need to move out. We get some space away from each other and you figure out what you want. That was what that was supposed to be. The physical separation was supposed to be us going to our respective corners and figuring out what we really want. Because I wanted to stay married, but there were just a lot of things that I was like, should we or shouldn't we? Because this seems to be really hard to overcome. I was very angry, and I feel like I had a right to be. But for him to figure out what he needed, and we never moved back in together. It was kind of a weird situation. I wonder. So to go back a little bit, I was that girl who's sort of like, why are we together this long? We ain't married. We need to get married. If you love me, we're gonna get married. So I was really pressed to get married. So I think he just went along to get along. Um, and I think once the reality of marriage hit both of us, I wasn't willing to face it. It was very difficult. Like I said earlier, the melding of the two styles. Even though we dated a long time, we even lived together. There was something about once we got to being married that it just didn't. I'm not. I'm not going to say I thought I made a mistake. I felt unprepared. I felt very unprepared. And so, as to what happened, I just think it was a whole lot for my part. It was really wanting to get married, getting married. I'm from a family where everybody gets married and stays married. And I was just like, I don't know how that's going to be my story. I don't know how we're going to do this. I hope that answers your question. It was kind of roundabout too.
So yeah, it's sort of like, is it is it safe to say it was doomed from the start?
That's a fair assessment. Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I think like for me, I just thought, just from what I grew up in my household, my parents were married for, until my father passed away a couple of years ago. And all I saw was the good parts. So I thought it was one of those things like, you know, you guys are two good people. Put two good people together, it's gonna make something great. And that's all I knew. And I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know what to look for. Um, but there, I think honestly, just looking back, there was a sense that I also just was like, um, I didn't want to hear that it was hard. I didn't want to hear that it would be work.
Yeah. So it sounds, so you had this model of marriage, right? It sounds like marriage is one of those things you grew up with. So you had your parents as a role model. People were telling you all the beauty about marriage. You grew up with it.
Yes.
They probably drilled it into your head. Get married, get married. But you didn't know about the bad parts, right? And people were trying to tell you, you didn't want to hear it. Like, what are you talking about? Marriage is beautiful. And then you do it yourself and it just went left.
Right. I mean, so like I said, I would hear from so the person who was like doom and gloom about marriage was my dental hygienist. So I was going to see her like every and really that's what I'm saying. Like we weren't like homegirls. She was she she would do my teeth and she just would talk about how horrible marriage was. So I heard that. And then I saw people together for years and years and years. And I just was like, okay, you know, just people just make it somehow. I didn't really think there was a way. I mean, some people make it, some marriages make it, some marriages don't. And that's kind of the risk I took. It wasn't until we got to the We went to two. The second marriage counselor that I realized, I was like, oh man, we're at a really bad place, because she said something that just me personally, like, this made me want to get into marriage and family. It really does. And that's where I am. That's where I'm getting my my master's in. She was like, um, do you guys want to stay married or not? And he said he didn't know. I was like, yeah. And she's kind of like, well, y'all need to go figure that out. And once you do, come back. And I'm sitting here like, it made me feel so hopeless. It kind of really keyed into that hopelessness that I felt about us. And it was like, maybe she's right. Maybe we are hopeless. I mean, because that's how bad I was struggling for anything. I was struggling for somebody to for him to say, okay, I was wrong, or I'm out. For me to say, okay, let's try this, or I'm out. I just was getting so many mixed messages. And so when she said that, I was like, well, maybe we're not meant to be. So maybe, you know, I got the negative part, I got the part, my parents, but this is us. We're this hopeless couple. And I, like, right now, I don't believe that. I don't believe any couple is hopeless. I believe they both have to be on the same page. Like, no one's dragging anybody. Just the same as any type of therapy or counseling. No one's dragging somebody there because you want them to change or you want something. Both parties agreed to come to counseling because we want to work on your marriage, yes, but maybe it's intimacy, maybe it's communication. You want to work on a specific thing, but it's kind of like the counselor's place, and I think the support system's place to normalize problems in marriage. I think we don't do that, especially from couples that have been together for a long time. And I mean, normalize them in the sense that you're going to have problems and they may last for years. They may never get resolved. It may be one of those things that you'll just have to learn to live with. And that's okay too. So I had to create my own message. Yes, like Delisa's saying, one specific thing at a time. Yes. Because and it's just so important to have that support now, all the way around with it. So not only from family was I getting stay together, I was getting, if you give up, you suck. Because we don't give up on marriage. What's like, I mean, I didn't either. In my mind, I'm like, we can make this happen. But if the other party isn't willing to do it, then they're not. And um, what I realized as I'm working on just coaching and counseling is that you got to meet people where they are. It's not what you want or what you even want for them. So to say to a couple, y'all need to go home and figure out where y'all want to be, is probably one of the worst things you can do to that couple on so many levels. So yeah, just a lot of stuff going on there. Kind of got off on a tangent.
It definitely is a lot. And
It's a lot.
you were paying her to fix it, right? Like, I hear you
Yeah.
talking and she's like, well, y'all need to figure it out. In my
Oh yeah.
mind, I'm like, we want you to figure it out. Like, we came
Yeah.
here
Well,
so you could figure it out.
right. Well, support us. Don't make me feel like a leper, right? So like this is kind of your thing, ma'am. And so when we come in here, I mean, it was just this moment where I was like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I never want a couple or a family or anybody to come in front of me and feel the way I felt in front of her. As a coach, therapist, anything. I don't, which is, oh, for real? That's what's going on? Well, you might want to go home and think about it. What? Like, because I was like, at the very least, it was a real interesting moment. Like, he shut down when she said that. When he was like, I'm not sure. And his whole thing was, I'm not sure, that's why we're here. And when she was sort of like, well, y'all need to figure it out, I felt him shut down. I got mad because I was like, we can't talk. Like, we literally can be in the same room with each other and we cannot talk to each other. So, and part of it was also it once you start communicating, maybe people's spaces will change. Maybe he'll be like, yeah, I want to save the marriage, and maybe I'll be like, I don't know. But that's what the process is for, to really help people begin to communicate those feelings. And you know, that's when I started thinking to myself, I said, I don't want my life as a divorcee to be don't do it. And it's not, and I'm not saying that because I chose to be the opposite. I'm saying that because, like, marriage can be a beautiful thing, but like anything else, you got to prepare for it. You got to be in a couplehood, whatever, that is preparing you for that level. And that, to me, that's the same thing with personal success, business, and life. If you are trying to get to this place, but you really aren't getting it going down here, okay, then that's going to be even more impossible. So find out what people do to have successful marriages. Find out how they do it. Go to your partner and say specifically, what what will make you happy? Because I'm not a mind reader. I'm not Dr. Mindbender. I don't know. Okay. And come from a place of curiosity for your spouse, and then when when things are tough, rough and tough, then state that, you know now I mean, I, I hope you wouldn't say something hurtful that would make more problems. But if you're in a place of pain, then let's express it, right? And express it in a way that it means being vulnerable, yes, but it also is sort of like, help me, right? Because what I remember was I literally could not articulate my pain. And so it would come out in, I'd shut down, or I may say something a little crazy. And so we both had the same personality, where it's sort of like, okay, I'll leave you alone. I'll leave you alone. Right. Let's not talk at all, you know? And that developed into its own thing too. So that's, and this, again, this is any type of relationship. Don't let the communication fail. And in those better times, create a system of communication where you are being open and you are being vulnerable, so that the you have that foundation set, right? You're not trying to set it like she was trying to do with us. You're not trying to set a foundation for communication when it's problematic, when nobody is emotionally vested anymore, and no one's emotionally able or willing to sit down and say, what do we want to do with this? And I mean, think about that. Think about that in a heavy, heavy moment where you have opened up the intimacy of your marriage to a stranger. And they are basically like, okay, we'll go back and see what happens. Go on, talk and see what happens. And then y'all come back to me. Literally, she was like, because I don't want to waste your time or mine. Going back and see what happens. So yeah. But what I just thinking back now, this is a good interview. I appreciate it. It helps me think back to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why I want to help women with people pleasing and perfectionism. Because I got into all that heavy after I got divorced. Because it was my only way to connect to people after that. After connecting with someone in such an intimate way and being rejected, the only way I could connect with other human beings was to people please. And then because I was so hurt because I was rejected, not only by him, but like my family was saying things to me like, fix it, you know, what is the dope or dog food, do or die. So people are coming at me like, you need to fix it. As a woman, you need to fix it. I said, I got to be perfect. I got to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, and if people aren't happy, they're going to leave me. They're going to leave me like he left me. And now I'm having to undo all of that, unpack all of that. So it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is a lot. And especially your family was so big on marriage, and I'm assuming your parents were married for a million years.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
it's and then just having your marriage fail, it's you didn't meet your parents' expectations, you didn't meet your your societal expectations, you didn't meet, maybe it's a cultural thing as well. I don't know, but it's a lot of expectations that you didn't meet, and so you have that feeling of failure,
Yeah.
and you failed at life. Is that safe to say? That that might be a bit extreme, but
Well,
is
yeah.
that
No,
safe
I
to
mean,
say?
yeah, that's fair. I mean, because you have an identity as a wife, right? Um, that's what that ring meant to me. It's like we're connected. So whatever he's going through, I'm going through. And so it was like I entered into a whole nother family expectation I didn't realize, which was you get married and you listen. The only other person that by um no two, but one of my uncles got divorced, and it kind of was a thing that they held over his head. Um and it's like, no, you don't do that. Like, why? Why would you get a divorce? What's so bad that y'all got the divorce over? Um and and so there was a feeling of, yes, failure, but losing that identity scared me more than failing. Losing that of because it's like you're the divorced child, or you're the divorced sister, or you're the person that couldn't quite, I don't know, maybe they are intertwined. You're the person that failure to me means like you ducked out, like you didn't stay in the fight. Um, and so I think that mindset spurred me to not file for divorce, you know, where I should have. He was already out, and I think if I had my mental health together, I'd have seen I was out too. So, and that's kind of part of my advice too. You know, I know you haven't asked about the advice or words of wisdom, but one of my words of wisdom is to really examine what marriage means to you. Right? Doesn't mean upholding a family expectation or a cultural expectation. Do you feel it's something you're supposed to do because you've been with somebody this long? That's very important, because I'm telling you, once you get engaged, that mindset does not automatically change. Right? You're engaged, but you still have all those issues rolling around in your head. And as I always say, get get a support system. Get other married people that I mean, you see as much as they show you, but you know that they've overcome something. And if they're willing to open up and share with you, get around people who are married that you can be open and honest with. Or get a counselor who's actually willing to do the deep dives with you guys as early as you can. Almost as part of, like I said, like with self-care, right? It's like you don't want to wait till you burned out dragon to say, okay, well, I need to do something for my self-care. No, you got to do something preventative. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And so stay connected to these people, because I think a part of everything that we deal with when it comes to problems and situations is the shame. And we don't feel like we can go to somebody. But if you have that support system in place, you know your expectations of yourself. You're not trying to recreate what you saw with your parents, or undo any childhood traumas. Your chances of success go up exponentially.
Yeah, yeah. So just so I have a picture. Um so when the divorce is finalized, everything is okay. So how
Yeah.
long ago was that?
what day is it? Girl, it's been like, literally, it's been what, 10 years and like 3 months. Yeah.
Oh, 10
Um,
years since it was
oh
finalized.
yeah, yeah, girl, it's been a long time.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been a while. Oh, I'm thinking it was like 2 years ago. I was like,
Oh
no, it's
no,
been a while.
no, it's been a, yeah. I think 2 years ago, I don't know if I'd have been able to. This would have to be like a 5 hour interview, but yeah, it's been 10 years. Um, Still unpacking it. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm still just unpacking who I was and who I'm becoming from there. But yeah, and so there's some that I could have gone to court, but because I mean, we had the property, but I didn't have to show up in court, and I didn't really see a point, um, you know. But we didn't have any children either, so it was an easier, cleaner split.
Yeah, and I hear that it's been over 10 years and you're still unpacking it, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's, you know, that's the thing with divorce. It can really tear somebody down
Oh yeah,
and break somebody.
sure.
Um, it's an emotional investment. Well, marriage. I mean, marriage is a emotional investment. It's a physical investment. It's a financial investment.
Oh yeah.
So how long? So I imagine the whole divorce process was crazy, right? Because now you have to split property and money, and do I
Yeah.
keep his last name? And so
Yeah.
how was
Um,
all that?
well, you know, um, he was a good sport about it. We didn't go through all that. I think he just wanted out. Because he didn't give me much of a fight about anything. So I got lucky. Even the property and things like that, he continued to pay. Um, yeah, he had like part of it. We just agreed you just pay this part of the loan and then be done. Now, in terms of property, I got some things I have to do. You know, in terms of legal and stuff like that. But I'm gonna do that. So funny thing about the name. I don't think I ever told anybody this. Listen, when I say I want to get married, girl, I want to get married. Everybody knew my name was Rhonda Pitts. That was my maiden name. She won't get married. That's what they knew about me. And I went back and forth. I said, no, I'm not going to change the name. It's kind of like a Tina Turner thing. I'm not changing the name. And then after a while, it just stuck. I think what it was becoming, becoming. So it just was like, okay, Rhonda Johnson, divorced, and moving through that process of mourning, process of becoming this new person. And it endeared the name to me, my last name, because I got I started telling my story. I started saying, yeah, I'm divorced and I'm not it was and it is important to me to say I'm not bitter about it. I think it helped me grow in so many ways. So now, like for example, um, when I want things, like, oh, I want this, I want that, you know, just what do you want about it? What do you think it will do for you once you get it? Right? Because sometimes we want things so badly, like I wanted to get married so badly. Well, I wanted a secure attachment in the relationship. That's what I wanted. And in my mind, that was getting married. So now I understand, okay, you know, be mindful of what you want. And so sometimes I look at my name and I'm like, it's kind of proof of a journey for me. Because people have been like, why do you keep his last name? It's like, you know, in a way it's just a name, in a way it's not just a name. But it's a reminder of where I've been. I mean, I'll always be Rhonda Pitts. I will always be a Pitts. Um, but I'm also Rhonda Johnson too. And that's the identity I've created.
Yeah, and I think it's I guess in a way it's kind of weird to me that how divorcees still keep the married name. Um, but then I understand that um, you've built an identity around the name, so it's kind of sometimes it's hard to give up. You know, like you
Mhm.
had to get a new ID,
Yeah, that
and you built your business on your name, and you've probably taken out credit on your name, and so you've taken out a deed on your name, so it's an um and well, you don't have kids, but for people who have kids, the kids have the name, and so it's you've built this whole life around your married name, and now you're divorced. It's like how how do you navigate this new life that you created for yourself? And so
yeah.
it's like sometimes it's easier to just, well, this is my life now. I created this life, and I don't want to lose it in any way. I'd rather just keep the name.
Right. Because they don't make it easy to change it back. I thought about it for like 2 seconds. I was like, do what? No, I'm good.
And
We're just gonna keep it.
so, okay, so just to again to make another picture. So, how long were you two actually married,
5 years.
and
Five
how
years.
long did you date before that?
Dang, girl, let me do no math. About 6 or 7 years. 6 years. Yeah, that's right. Because we were engaged last year. Yeah, so 6 years. Dated 6 years, married for 5.
Okay, so that's some longevity there. So, what was that moment? So, tell us about the moment when you two decided to get married.
Um, this is funny. Like, man, I don't want to tell his business like that. But uh, again, I had like begged and cried and did all this stuff. And so I could laugh now. He like handed me this should have been a clue. You know, ladies, pay attention. Okay. Sometimes we want things so bad. Something happens and we're like, oh, it's cute. And we look back and we're like, that was a clue.
Mhm.
He literally brought the bag out with the ring and was sort of like, yay. I was like, yeah. Right. So I'm happy to get the ring. But then I said, you mind putting it on my finger? He's like, sure. You know, and I was like, yeah, I'm calling everybody, but if I could go back in time to that young lady, I'd be like, baby, mm-mm. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, he's just not romantic. I'm like, really? I mean, a caveman. I mean, and that's not picking on him. It just, it just was sort of like
So he was
that was,
very like
yeah, it was, yeah,
careless about it.
very, very careless, very, yeah. But because I wanted it so bad, I didn't care.
Oh,
Um,
were you begging him?
oh yes.
Ah.
Okay. What there was a show on at the time, girl. What was it called? Oh, it was a horrible show. So stupid. I don't know if you remember it. And I'm only remember it because it's part of my tapestry now. But it was the guy who played Peter Brady. It was a reality show, one of the first generation reality shows. It was a guy who played Peter Brady and some model lady. And this, I'm so glad I know how to make friends as an adult now. I didn't back then, so they were my friends. And like she was doing the same thing with him every episode. And I was watching with him like, that's me, you know.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't
Oh
remember the
God, what
name
was it
either.
called? Yes, yeah, yeah. Don't mention that. Yeah, yeah. And I was begging just like that. And like I said, just because I just needed to, and this took me a while to figure out too. I just wanted to feel secure with us. And everyone around us was making that big move. I was in my early 30s. Um, and I was like, you know, like 30, we're sitting here dating like we're teenagers. What's happening here? Um, and so eventually, he gave in, and then, like I said, he did that proposal, and it was off to the races for me. I was like, "Yay, we're gonna be happy. This is gonna be great." And the whole time, I can laugh now, but he's looking like, he would actually look like that.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I see that look. I I I did not think it was somebody who didn't want to get married, but ultimately I think that's what it was. He didn't want to.
Yeah, and I think that's a clue.
Yeah.
Usually
I love the
when
way you said that. That was
yeah, it's a clue, and it just made me think of, I don't know if you're familiar with the Nikki Bella John Cena story, but basically like they were dating for like I think like a few years, and she kept asking John Cena like, why don't you want to get married? Let's get married. And then Nikki's friends were like, why don't you want to get married? And John Cena was dragging his feet, and then he was like, if we get married, will that be enough for you? And I think he finally, maybe like I think I'm getting it kind of mixed up, but eventually he proposed. He did it publicly, and then something happened where he just dragged his feet again, and Nikki just snapped and was just like, and then she planned the whole bachelorette party and all that. But basically, I think that was over a period of 6 years, and I think all that to say was, um, oh, and then John Cena, like he had her sign like a cohabitation agreement, but basically the reason why I'm bringing this example up was, the clue was, you know, John Cena didn't want to get married, and he even said it on the first date. I don't want marriage. I don't want kids. And I think
oh man.
Nikki kind of like she caved into that because she thought he was her soulmate, but she was wrestling back and forth, and then people were talking to her.
Yeah.
Well, basically, but the clue was, he didn't want to do it. He was dragging his feet. He had to sign a cohabitation agreement, and he got lawyers involved, so it got it really messy. But all I had to say was, um, that I think sometimes women don't see
Sure.
the clues from men, that if they're taking too long, uh or they're just kind of careless about the engagement, or they kind of they make statements like, if we get married, will that be enough for you? um
Yeah.
so I think little things like that are signs that he doesn't want to do
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a sign. Yeah.
it.
That's,
And I
I
just,
mean,
I imagine too, like you guys were
yeah.
dating for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
people
And
were in your ear like, so when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna
sure.
get
Yeah.
married? When are you gonna get
Right.
married?
Right. I mean, and it's kind of, I think people put pressure on the woman, like you need to, I don't know, like magic. I don't know what you're supposed to do, but it's sort of like you're waiting around, you're not getting any younger, this and this and this, and you're at this, what I've come to realize is you're at this. I was, and I don't know about Nick. I think I remember hearing about that story now, but I was in my early 30s. Yeah, early-ish 30s. And that's such a time in development, right? Your brain basically is just formed yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And you're settling into yourself. I'd say from the age of like 27, about 35. And so when people are in your ear, and not only are they in your ear, but you're looking at life differently. You're I can't talk. No longer that young thing out there. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like now, meaning you're now a grown up bona fide. What are you going to do with your life? Where you go? Okay, you got the career, where the kids? You got this, where's that? And it feels like everybody around you is moving. This is how I felt. Everybody around me was just moving and settling into a life that it's like I felt like I couldn't have, especially if I wasn't married. So when people were coming in my ear, I mean, I was just getting so Um, like, yeah, like I was getting so many messages and mixed up and stuff, and I would kind of bring it to him like, you got me out here looking crazy, you know? But moving on wasn't an option. Like leaving it wasn't an option, because it was like that to me was worse than being in a bad marriage, right? Because I'm like, now you're in your early 30s and you're by yourself. So what's really going on with you? Where now I can look back at it and say, well, change is going on, you know? And now I can see people doing things. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I admire that. That's great. I will talk to them and see what they did to do that, but it doesn't shake me to the core like it used to. Because over time, as I started just kind of coaching and doing my practicum and stuff like that, and I would listen to other young women in their late 20s and early 30s talk like I was talking. I would hear my thought process in their words. And I was like, okay, this is a whole thing, you know? And there is no talking, there is no talking a person out of that. I mean, not like you should try as a counselor, but there's no way to soothe that, you know? And I had to realize that, you know, it was a part of my development. And now I could have the same thoughts and watch. It's not Flavor of Love, but whatever that. My Lord, it just came to me. My Fair Brady. Now I ain't never gonna forget it. Thanks, Gabrielle. Anyway, it was called My Fair Brady, and be like, I probably couldn't make it through one episode because the sadness would get to me. But it was something I really, really identified with at the time, and you know, I just, I don't know. As I sit here now thinking about it, I feel kind of sad for myself. Myself back then. So I don't know how I got on that tangent, but anyway.
That's what Hot Topics is about.
Right, it's
But
hot.
there's so much to unpack, and
Yeah.
I gotta bring you back on for part two of this discussion.
Yeah.
But time is going, so we gotta wrap it up. So
Absolutely.
now we didn't even talk about the fallout. What happened during those 5 years. But I gotta bring you back. We gotta continue this discussion.
Sure.
So
Definitely.
now, I mean, you gave a lot of words, you gave a lot of wisdom, but if there's one piece of advice that you can leave with someone right now, maybe someone is going through a similar situation, um, what would you tell that person?
Don't be ashamed. Get support. Um, Let the right people know what you're going through and what you need. Right. So if we tell people our story, maybe, okay, I'm telling you now, but right now I actually need some space. But when I reach out to you, you know what's going on. I need a word of encouragement. I'm serious about that. If it has to be a therapist, counselor, coach, let it be that. If you are able to do that with family, that's awesome. Get somebody around you who can support you through this time, as because it's a time of grief, it's a time of transition, it's a time of change. Get someone around you to support you through that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, Rhonda, this was a fascinating conversation, and you're blowing up the comments. So, but thank you for coming back on Hot Topics. And there's so much we, didn't get a chance to get into, but we got to do this again. But thank you for coming on the
Thank you.
show. All right, so now it is promo time. So let's get your name out there. All right, so you guys, so Rhonda Johnson, you can find her. Oh wait, it's a last minute comment. Oh, thanks for this live. You're welcome.
Thank you,
Just
Delisa.
make sure
Thank you
we
for
get
being here.
that comment. But yes, so Rhonda, you can find her in a lot of different places. You can find her on the web. Her website is www.limitlessrhondaj.net. She has a Facebook page and a Facebook group with the same name. So I want
Right.
you to be pay attention to that distinction. So the Facebook name and the page and the group is Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J. So I encourage you guys to follow her Facebook page and also join her Facebook group. It's the same name, two
Same name.
different things. She's also on Instagram, Limitless Empowered. Wait, it's coming up. Yes, Limitless Empowered, Limitless underscore empowered, and she's also on Twitter as well as Rhonda J2. So I encourage you guys to follow her on all of her social media accounts. And if you want to learn about her and her services and the things that she has to offer, check out our website www.limitlessrhondaj.net. So Rhonda, can you tell us more about your business? What do you do?
Okay, real quick. I empower people pleasing and perfectionist women over 30 who are done with that. They're ready to speak up on their needs and be their authentic self. I do digital products. I'm working on some things. I actually have a quiz that when you go on my website, you could sign up for. I have a holiday guide that's coming out. It's not released yet, but if you have anyone interested, Gabrielle, I can share that information with you. Take the quiz. The quiz actually assesses your propensity towards people pleasing and perfectionism. And it's just a way to sort of measure where you are so you're aware where you are and say, okay, look, I'm good where I am, but I need support. Or like, hey, I want a little bit more support to be less people pleasing and less perfectionist. I'm here to help you with all that. And like I said, I'll keep you guys posted on the holiday guide because I know the holidays can be crazy crucial on those of us who are perfectionists and people pleasers. And I want you guys just to sit back, chill out with your hot cocoa, coffee, whatever, and have a good time this holiday season with no stress. So that's what I'm
Fabulous,
promoting.
fabulous. So we will
Yes,
look out for that holiday guide.
yes.
And you also have a journal, a downloadable journal that you can
Mm-hmm.
download from your website. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so what that journal has is just some prompts to help you think deeper. Because I do like self care, and one of the things I love about self care is it makes you think more about what you need. So when you sitting there drinking a little champagne, the bubble bath, you can go on jot some thoughts down. And get to know yourself in a better way. I think that's self care as well. So that is also on my website, ready for downloads. Just go there and check it out, guys.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you do Facebook Lives, right? I didn't put that here.
Yeah, I'm getting into that. Yeah, I got to get back into my
You
lives and
want
stuff.
to
Yes.
tell people about that?
Yeah, I could tell them. The goal, the plan is to start doing just Thursdays around 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Lord, 3 p.m. Eastern. And just checking in with everybody and just kind of let y'all know what's coming up for me, how I'm feeling, and again, just to check in for everybody to let me know what you need, how you feeling, what you got going on. So it's not really a big thing like hot topics, but it's a little
Oh,
something to tune
okay. It's
into.
just something that you like to do.
Yeah, no, not yet. I ain't big time yet, but I'm getting there. I keep
Okay.
I keep hanging out with you. I'm gonna get there.
Where can people watch your lives?
You got to be part of the Facebook group, the Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J. The group, not the page. And that's where I mostly hang out. Even though I do post still on the page, the group is where it's cooking. Where we're communing and we're joining up together. So you got to join me there for the lives.
All right, there you go. You guys heard it. So make sure you join her Facebook group. It is Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J. All of that. Let me just put that back up on the screen here.
Thank you.
So make sure you join her Facebook group, follow her Facebook page, follow her on Instagram and Twitter, and visit her website, www.limitlessrhondaj.net. All of this information is in the description. So for those of you listening to this on a podcast right now, the information is in the description. So make sure you check that out. It's also for those of you watching this on YouTube, it's in the description as well. So it's on the screen and it's in the description below. Make sure you check it out. This information is here. So make sure you uh, follow Rhonda and stay in touch with her and join her Facebook group.
Yep. Thank you so much, Gabrielle. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We got to do this again.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's so much more to discuss. But yes, thank you again for coming on Hot Topics.
Yep.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, you guys. So that's we covered a lot there. So, I love it when the guest does most of the talking. Uh, and, they share a lot of tidbits. So there's a lot to unpack. So there's a lot, but we didn't get to everything. And okay, now we got to bring them back. So I love it when that happens. But yeah, so stay tuned for part 2 of that conversation, you guys. But yes, let me get some self promo in before you guys go. So Hot Topics is a production of my own company, A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you have a child who's excuse me who's they're struggling with school, maybe they're falling behind on homework, or maybe they missed a lot of days and they got to catch up, or they're not focused, or it's just some kind of academic issue with school. Hit us up. We have tutors available. Our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. You could also find us on many social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube, where you might be watching this right now. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. So make sure you check us out on all of our platforms. Make sure you follow us and like and subscribe as well. But yes, so uh, we also do college students as well, you guys. We're not just limited to kids, but any kind of academic issue, struggle. We also do test prep, college counseling, editing and proofreading, all that good stuff. Hit us up. The website again, www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. So make sure you check us out online. Our podcast, Hot Topics, which you might be watching now on video or listening to this on a podcast. I encourage you, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you can listen to the audio version of these episodes on like a Spotify or an Apple Podcast or Good Pods. So wherever you are, sorry. So wherever you are taking in the sound of my voice, make sure you like and subscribe as well, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And one last plug, I encourage you guys to drop a comment in the comment section below. Give us your feedback about this episode today. Whether you're watching on video or listening on audio on a podcast, leave a comment, give us a rating, let us know your thoughts on this episode today. Let us know your thoughts on this whole show. It does help us, in terms of the algorithm. So take a moment right now, drop a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread, and give us a rating on your favorite platform. So please give us your feedback. It will help us a lot. All right, and that is it. Thank you for joining me, Gabrielle, for another episode of Hot Topics. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode. Thank you again, and now I am signing off. Bye.